Friends, since our undergraduate days, we have been taught that prevention is better than cure. So when we apply the same logic to multifetal pregnancy, my question to you all is, can we really prevent? Let us see. I will, and then we all will try to come to some consensus. Why at all we are talking of prevention? We all know that the incidence of multiple gestation has definitely risen due to increased use of fertility drugs for ovulation induction, super ovulation, and ART technologies. Let us have a look at the statistics. In 1960, before the commercial availability of drugs for the treatment of infertility, there were 4.3 million with 1244 triplets and higher order multiples. In 2018, the total number of births were slightly lower, but there were 3525 triplets and higher order multiples, the lowest number reported since 1991. So what is the solution? We all have seen what are the problems faced whenever we have a multifetal pregnancy with us. The solution is transfer of one selected embryo, that is ESET, to avoid the hazards of multiple pregnancies and also to improve the pregnancy and live birth rate. As Dr. Jaideep Tank has told us, that the goal of any infertility treatment, that is the ideal goal, I will say, is one healthy baby at a time. So the ASRM came up with the measures to reduce the multiple fetal pregnancy in 1990, which they revised in 2017. And let us see what these ASRM 2017 guidelines say. They have given us the guideline on the number of embryos to be transferred based on the age of the woman, and whether they are euploid, whether you are transferring blastocyst. So here is the chart which is available on the internet. You all can see the latest ASRM 2017 guidelines. These guidelines suggest limiting the number of embryos to be transferred based on maternal age, embryo quality, euploidy, as well as being assessed by the availability of embryos for cryopreservation. So these are the 4 factors which will decide how you can reduce the number of multiple fetal pregnancies in your center. So let us look at the first factor, that is the maternal age. Studies have consistently demonstrated that live birth rates after ART decreases with advancing maternal age. So what is the solution? We all go on putting more number of embryos as the female age advances. The second criteria is embryo selection. So how you will select the bestest of best embryo? It is assessed by various ways, but morphological evaluation remains the first line method. Morphological assessment determines a cumulative embryo score encompassing the 3 main characteristics, that is the cell number, the fragmentation, and the symmetry of the embryo. These 3 factors helps to select the most viable embryos, thereby maintaining the implantation rates while reducing the need to transfer many embryos, and hence it reduces the risk of multiple gestation. There are advanced technologies also to decide about the quality of embryos, and they include fragment distribution among blastomeres, morphology of the first polar body, pronuclear orientation, and the list goes on and on. Apart from this, the euploidy of the embryos also matters, and we have various technologies to decide whether the embryos are euploid or aneuploid, right from time-lapse technique to pre-implantation genetic technique, that is we do PGT-A. However, do remember that by applying PGT-A, it does not improve the live birth rate. The rationale for this procedure is that the ability to transfer chromosomally normal embryos should increase the overall success rate of ART. However, there are many problems with the PGT-A, that is injury to the embryo during biopsy, misdiagnosis because of mosaicism, indeterminate genetic results. They may contribute to loss of normal embryos. So this is not a miracle which you can advise to each and every patient. The pros and cons of this technique to the particular patient. A non-inferiority trial which was published in 2010 comparing the pregnancy rates of single embryo transfer of a euploid embryo and a double embryo transfer of morphologically graded embryos reported similar ongoing pregnancy rates beyond 20 weeks of gestation. So the authors determined that transfer of a single euploid blastocyst was non-inferior compared with transfer of two blastocysts with unknown ploidy status in terms of ongoing pregnancy rates. Nowadays, we also have the non-invasive biomarkers available. However, remember, none of these bioinvasive markers as of now approach have yet proven efficacious for embryo selection. Now moving from the maternal age to embryo quality to the day of transfer. You all can see the transfer is done on day 3, that is to the tune of 54.6%, but you can transfer embryos on day 2, 3, day 4, day 5 and day 6. So why we are discussing on which day the embryos should be transferred? You can see on day 2 or day 3, that is the cleavage stage, we have all progressed from day 2 to day 3 because of the improvements in the IVF culture media. However, there was a spike in high order multiple gestation after we all moved to day 3 guidelines. They had not been revised to transfer fewer embryos to correct for the better success rate which was there with day 3 embryos as compared to day 2 embryos. We again had advancements in our IVF lab, in the culture media, and we shifted from day 3 to day 5 or day 6. That is blastocyst stage transfer. But remember, again, there are both advantages and disadvantages to blastocyst transfer. Transfer on day 5 is more natural as it takes approximately 4 days for the naturally through the fallopian tube and reach the uterine cavity. In this way, it is natural. But blastocysts may be better embryos because they have demonstrated the ability to make the transition from dependency on the maternal xenome to the embryonic xenome for continued development and undergo cell differentiation to achieve the blastocyst stage. Because from day 3 to progress to day 5, definitely it has shown the embryos which reach only 1 or 2 blastocysts need to be transferred to maintain the overall success rate while decreasing the high order multiple pregnancy rate. And you can see that there are n number of studies on the number of blastocysts to be transferred to reduce the multiple pregnancy rate. If only 1 or 2 blastocysts are transferred, triplet pregnancy should not occur unless one of the blastocyst divides itself to form a monozygotic twins. So remember, you can't promise that there won't be triplet. You are avoiding the chances of triplets by transferring blastocyst. So the solution is, again, I am coming back to it, is the most effective method of avoiding high order multiple pregnancy is single embryo transfer. And what does I mean by elective single embryo transfer? That is ESET. It is defined as transfer of one good quality embryo in those cases where you have at least 2 good quality embryos are available. So you have more number of embryos, but you are electively choosing to transfer only 1 embryo. That is the ESET. Efficacy of this approach was provided in 2013 meta-analysis of 14 randomized trials of single versus double embryo transfer, and most of the transfer trials they compared cleavage stage transfers, that is day 2, day 3 transfer. So for a woman with a 15% risk of multiple pregnancy, following a single cycle of double embryo transfer, the risk of multiple pregnancy following 2 single embryo transfer cycles would only be 0 to 2%. So who will decide? Now we all know we can prevent high order multiple pregnancy by deciding to transfer ESET, that is elective section. Doctor, let us see. Medical arguments in favor of ESET are often contrasted with the arguments that support patient autonomy. Like Dr. Jaideep Tang said, his doctor patient only insisted that she wants as many embryos to be transferred as possible. So it is the patient who decides, and in India we don't have any guidelines to tell us about how many embryos we can transfer. So we all decide the number of embryos to be transferred based on our individual experience and based on the patient preferences. The principle of this respect for autonomy, it acknowledges the right of the patient, that patient can decide. It has been reported that a significant proportion of infertile couples in Europe, USA and Africa, and I will add India, they prefer to transfer more than one embryo in order to achieve a twin pregnancy. Everyone here wants 1 plus 1. More is merrier as far as we are concerned, but these are the studies which has shown the patient preferences in many countries. Couples with infertility, they often express a desire for delivering twins instead of a single child. Their rationale is, we want kids and all this treatment is expensive and unpleasant. So let us just have 2 kids and get it over with. We can complete the family in one shot. The psychological, social and economic stress involved with caring for twins is substantial. But patients often say they would welcome facing those stresses if they were so blessed. So they say पहले pregnant तो हो जाए, फिर सोचेंगे कि double है कि 3 है, and then we are ready to go through those stresses. So friend, this is the reality, at least in India, that if a couple has high quality embryos available for transfer, then they are offered the option of transferring 1 embryo with a 50% expectation of pregnancies or 2 embryos with a 75%. Few patients will choose to transfer 1 embryo. They want the higher chances of pregnancy and they are ready to accept the risk associated with the multiple pregnancy. The few couples who do choose to have a single embryo transfer, they almost always have excellent higher order socioeconomic status and they often have already 1 living child, and that is why they don't want twins in their second pregnancy. But here comes our role. What the ethical issues are. It is patient autonomy versus obstetric complications. Where does patient autonomy over treatment end and our national regulation begin? But in India, we don't have any national regulation. So it is our responsibility which doubles up. The management of obstetric complications and the long-term sequelae of premature birth should be factored when you are counseling these patients. This is the list of maternal or neonatal problems which you have to discuss in great length with this couple, and when you are giving them the options of transferring more than 1 embryo transfer. Advancement in embryo cryopreservation, extended embryo culture with blastocyst selection and pre-implantation genetic screening has facilitated the expansion of elective single embryo transfer without compromising the success rate. The mandated for infertility coverage in Europe, Canada, and selected states have resulted in increased ESET utilization and decreased cost associated with ART. When the goal is to minimize IVF complications, multiple embryo transfer does not necessarily translate to a superior outcome. So the future success of ART lies in selective elective single embryo transfer, that is the power of 1. Now we all know the advantages of power of 1, but why don't we perform elective single embryo transfer? This was the study where they studied the characteristics of ESET itself, characteristics of the doctor, characteristics of the patient, and characteristics of the contest. So you can see the ESET itself, there is lack of objective results, low cost effectiveness when it comes to professionals, the negative attitude towards ESET, bad quality patient-doctor relationship, difficult to change your policy, characteristics related to patient, it's a financial problem, their economic status, their desire for twins. The contest is lack of legislation, impeding mentality of the society, and the list is endless. Despite knowing the advantages, why we don't perform elective single embryo transfer, it all depends on so many factors. In general, European infertility clinics are transferring fewer embryos as compared to American IVF centers. On average, they have lower pregnancy rates and a lower percentage of multiple births than clinics in United States. There are several factors involved in this difference. In some European countries, physicians are restricted by law so that they cannot transfer more than 2 embryos, and also IVF is more commonly paid by the insurance companies, so patient also readily agrees. Can we advise single embryo transfer for all? Let us see what the recommendations say. The practice guidelines of the SART and the ASRM suggest that ESET is most appropriate for those women who have a good pregnancy of conception. That is, her age is less than 35 years. She has more than 1 high quality embryo for transfer. This is her first or second IVF treatment cycle, and she is the recipient of embryos from the donated eggs. To understand the economic evaluations of single versus double embryo transfer in IVF, there were several databases were searched. A total of 496 titles were studied. You can see there are no meta-analysis. They found out that where a patient is paying from their pocket, the choice of decision for ESET is difficult for both patient and clinician. Whether the risk of spontaneously conceived and IVF conceived pregnancy is same, here was the review, and you can see that the author, they had their significant doubts about the medical and economic validity of elective single embryo transfer. The concept of elective single embryo transfer requires reconsideration unless patients wants only 1 child to complete their family or have medical contraindications to carry a twin pregnancy. In all other cases, ESET as currently increasingly considered standard of care, actually it harms the pregnancy chances for infertile patients who are thereby unnecessarily prolonging their time to pregnancy, and it increases their medical cost. So I'm sure now everyone is confused whether I am promoting ESET or I am against ESET. So let us go to the debate further. What a physician should do when confronted with a patient's request which conflict with the medical recommendation, it depends on the specificities of the contest in which patient and physicians are implicated. The arguments brought forward in this article that was published in 2015 pointed out that shared decision making is the appropriate approach which does justice to the responsibilities that both patients and physicians have in assisted reproduction. So to simplify, you have to just counsel about the pros and cons of ESET and about the pros and cons of having multiple pregnancy, and let patient and the couple decide. When you give choice to the patients to decide about the single embryo transfer, usually the well-informed and supported patients they are more likely to choose ESET. As you can see in this study, after the education, after the counseling, more and more couples, they do opt for single embryo transfer. ASRM guidelines also had a positive impact because of the regulation. Now it is mandatory to transfer the fewer embryos, and it has definitely helped in reducing the number of multifetal pregnancies. This IVF and ART is only responsible for increasing number of multifetal pregnancy. What about our ovulation, superovulation for non-IVF patients? It is estimated that 39 to 67% of high order multiple births are related to ovulation induction without IVF, and ovulation induction accounts for essentially 100% of multiple pregnancies with 6 or more fetuses. Thus, ovulation induction and superovulation account for the order multiple gestation. The contribution of ovulation induction to high order multiple births is rising, while the number of these births from IVF is falling. So what is the solution? So beginning with the medication regimes, you have to first prefer oral ovulagens. When you are using gonadotropins, use lowest possible dose, closely monitor your cycle, and be liberal in cancelling the cycles. Whenever you see 3 or more than 3 lead follicles, you are supposed to cancel the cycle or convert it into IVF. So coming to the summary and recommendations, following several decades of increasing incidence of twin and high order multiple gestation, after ART, including ovulation, superovulation, and IVF, the incidence of both IVF and high order multiple gestation has in fact declined in the past decade, because everyone is working towards the ideal ART outcome, that is the delivery of a single healthy child at a time. Progress towards this goal has been made as a result of improvements in the embryo evaluation, patient selection, including limiting the number of embryos transferred based on maternal age, embryo quality, and the availability of cryopreservation. Needed to develop more accurate methods of embryo selection by which we can increase the success rate, thereby more and more patients will agree to ESET. So all IVF centers must try to reduce the number of multiple births without compromising on the success rate for that individual couple. So I am not recommending ESET for all. I am recommending the counseling and the shared decision making. And when you are doing non-IVF cycle, you have to be very liberal in cancellation of the cycle or converting to IUI cycles whenever you see 3 or more follicles. So thank you so much, friends, for your patient hearing. Once again, thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Lakshmi, for wonderful talk.